I was sitting at an event once, and it was about glass ceilings, and they went around the whole room. There's 20 women, and of course I was the last one. Had to be the last one. And they were all going on about, pushing through the glass ceiling, and it was so tough. And I went, what ceiling? Sky's the limit.
Hello, and welcome back to the Southern Star's West Cork is the Business podcast. My name is Seán Mahon, and over the course of this series, I'm chatting to some of West Cork's most interesting and accomplished business people about how they made their way in their respective industries and what has driven them to success. If you missed last week's episode, be sure to check it out, as we had a really interesting chat with Tim Houston, the CEO of one of West Cork's most exciting business stories, Global Shares. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Jaqueline O'Donovan, OBE, the Managing Director and owner of O'Donovan Waste Disposal, one of London's leading waste management companies. Now, you might be wondering why, for this episode, I'm talking to a London-based organisation for our West Cork is the Business podcast. Well, that's because Jaqueline and her family hail from Goleen in West Cork, and it was Jaqueline's father, Denis Joseph O'Donovan, otherwise known as Joe, who left his native County Cork in the 1950s with an ambition to build a successful business in London. And true to his word, he set up a demolition company, which evolved into a waste disposal business in the 1950s with several depots in London. The company continues to go from strength to strength, and it's recognised as a leading force in the industry in terms of innovation, sustainability, safety and best practice. Today the company has a turnover in the region of £20 million plus per annum. It employs approximately 150 people, and it was recently acquired by a major Swedish waste disposal organisation. My guest was awarded an OBE in King Charles's 2023 birthday honours for services to recycling, safety and industry. Jaqueline O'Donovan has been one of the leading figures in the UK waste management and recycling industry for more than 36 years. She's transformed the sector's safety and sustainability practices, and she's recognised as an industry disruptor and trailblazing female business leader. Jaqueline, I thought it might be useful to go back to the early days to start our conversation and our discussion today. My understanding is that you were born and brought up in Kilburn, and then you moved to North London. Tragically, your dad Joe passed away at the very early age of just 51 years old. Tell me, what was it like back in those days? What was it like growing up in London in the 70s and the 80s? And how did your dad's tragic young passing affect the family and the business?
I think being the youngest of four, I don't really remember the Kilburn days, County Kilburn as we call it in London. But my brothers and sisters tell me that the English children wouldn't play with the Irish families, so there was very strong discrimination. It was the times of no blacks, no dogs, no Irish in the pubs. So I think my parents must have received quite a lot of discrimination for the fact that they were Irish, and along with the children. So my older brother went to secondary school in Kilburn. By the time we moved to North London, they were demolishing the flat. So we were in a one-bedroom flat, 6 of us. So we had very, very humble beginnings, and it was a case of take a council house or council flat or take £1,000 to buy your own. And Dad chose to take £1,000, and we then moved on to North London where I started school. So I was in a cot until I was 5. So I'm a tad claustrophobic, so I'm blaming my parents for that one.
And given the backdrop, as you said, for a lot of Irish people in London at that time, I mean, your dad must have been quite resilient and focused on trying to get a business established.
Yeah, Dad was very focused and very resilient. So Dad started off the early days here at Drina Co-op, and it was the time that the first Russian satellite was launched called Sputnik, and Dad was nicknamed Sputnik, and he absolutely detested the name. And the reason was because he had to be at the job first. So they nicknamed him Sputnik, and still to this day, and he's dead 38 years this year, and still to this day people say, "Are you Sputnik's daughter?" so people still remember it. But when he left West Cork, so he was brought up in Goleen until he was 5, and then they moved to Dremel. And when he left the island of Ireland, he left with quite a few people, I think, that will be listening to this podcast will remember, like the D.F. O'Sullivan, who tragically died in a car accident here in, he was based in Skibbereen, Tommy Hayes, who was in Dunmanway, and then there was another gentleman called the Goat. Everybody had a nickname. He ran a bar, Denny Hurley, in Middleton. They all came home, Dad stayed with it, and he used to ring Mum. So Mum came into Skibbereen from Goleen for work, and he used to ring Mum at a payphone every Sunday, and then he sent the money over to bring her over to England. So that's how it started, and they both worked extremely hard until we moved to North London, and Dad had started to, I suppose, create quite an empire for himself, and continued to do so until his early death. So my older brother got married, and 3 weeks later Dad died. So it was a massive shock to all of us that 3 weeks after the wedding that we had a funeral.
And that, as you say, that was a seismic impact, I presume, on the family as a whole. And once you started to understand the fact that Dad was no longer around, what was the process then in deciding what was going to happen with the business and how the business would progress, if at all, from there going forward? I
don't think we had a process. I think we were all in a state of shock because Dad, 1, was only 51. 2, we just hadn't thought like that. You know, we always just assumed that the older brother who was in the business was just going to carry on with the business, and we were going to do other jobs. So I was thinking about being a childminder. So I had secured my place in an RAF camp in Germany to look after one of the officers' children with a school friend of mine. Thank God the children were saved, because that certainly wasn't the route that I should have taken. So everything for a reason, and it wasn't a let's all sit round the table and let's all pull straws. It just wasn't done that way. I think we had about a 2-year period, because I was 17 when Dad died, and I was 19 when I became managing director. And I think that 2-year period was just complete and utter turmoil. The 2 elder siblings were trying to make sense of what they had, and they just couldn't. I mean, we weren't long out of school. My older brother had just come out of a lorry because he got married to Dad, said he had to take on more responsibilities. Dad was going to take things easier. And then 3 weeks later, he was no longer. So, yeah, it was a very, I suppose, really bad turmoil. I stayed at home to look after Mum. She was 48. We thought she was ancient. You know, we absolutely thought she was ancient, but she was 48 years of age. She was no age. So I was left at home to look after her for a while. And then just the way things panned out, my sister went off to have my niece, and it was me in the office. We completely downsized. The 2 boys went back out in lorries, so we had about 5 lorries. And my first challenge as MD, because I was in the office, I was MD, I signed, so I had to sign because the boys were out in lorries. So it was no, oh right, let's pull straws, or you'll be better at it, or I'll be better at it. It was just a case of it just naturally fell to me, which is quite unusual because I'm the youngest. Mm-hmm. And yeah, my first challenge was the bank. So I went into Bank of Ireland, and the manager called me out of the queue. It's not like these days now where it's all machines. Called me out of the queue, and he said, none of you are going to have your dad's business acumen. You're all far too young. We're closing down the accounts. So that was my first challenge, was to go off and find a bank. And obviously, with our Irish roots, I wanted to keep it Irish. So we went off to Allied Irish Bank, and we stayed with them until last year, until they exited the UK.
And I mean, as you say, it sounds like it was a case of needs must. It was a case of sleeves rolled up. We just got to get on with this. Yep. Now as a family, but you were still 19 years of age, as you say. I mean, thinking back to all of us when we were 19, we're a bit green around the gills then. And so was it a case of literally learning on the job?
Oh yeah, I ran out of school, 2 fingers to the teacher. See you later, love. I don't need you. You mean my English teacher, and probably English is my worst subject. Grammar and spelling, because I just didn't understand it. They just didn't spend the time back in them days to actually explain why. It was just all just get to the end of the term and tick a box sort of thing. But yeah, she told me I was never going to get a job, and if I didn't listen to her, and so it was 2 fingers to the teachers. So yeah, had no formal education as such. I got a no level in art, child development, and I was quite good at maths, thank God. But other than that, no. School, I wasn't academic.
So in a way, were you quite, even though it was maybe quite daunting, was it quite exciting as well? To get stuck into this.
I don't think we had time. We didn't have time to even think about how we were going to do it, if we were going to do it, and whether it was exciting or not. I think it was a case of it just had to be done. Mm-hmm. Get on with it, and I'm very that way. If I've got something to do, it's just got to be done, and it will be done. And that was just how I progressed. I mean, I didn't for 1 minute think, oh my God, I'm 19 and I'm in a male-dominated industry. It didn't even enter my head that was the case. It was a case of the 2 boys were out in the lorry. My sister was having my niece. I was in the office. Someone had to answer the phone.
And what the business at that point was it demolition, or had it started to move into the waste disposal at that?
Yeah, and Dad moved it into the waste. So Dad was probably one of the biggest players in London in the waste industry. It was new to London, so we continued in the waste. We still do demolition, but waste was the key area.
And what was the moment that you realised that you said to yourself, do you know what, I can do this? Was there a particular point in those early years where you realised, I can not only run this business, I can evolve this business, I can make this business more successful than it currently is? Was there one particular moment or thing that you managed to achieve that suddenly gave you that confidence?
Yeah, I suppose there was a moment when we had this small firm of accountants that done our books. And it was a Jewish man that used to come into the office, and he actually picked his calculator up and he went, he said, I haven't got enough zeros to do the numbers. And then at that point I thought, so can't be doing too bad then. So then we had to get audited accounts, and we came under different regulations. So we had to move accountants. So that was a very moment. Yeah.
There could be something in this.
Yeah.
Must be
doing something right.
And look, I mean, you've mentioned obviously it's a family-run business. It always has been. It is now. You work alongside your siblings. Any advice for other people that are involved in family-run businesses? I presume it has its pros and its challenges, possibly.
Do you know what? I don't come across any challenges with working with family. The amount of people that say to me, oh my God, I see my brother or my sister on Christmas Day and it's enough, they do my head in. It just isn't like that for us. I think we're a very tight family. I think probably because Dad tragically died when we were all so young. So my older brother would have been 23, I would have been 17, so we were quite young. And I think very early on, we took our lanes and we stayed in our lanes and we complemented each other. And I think they understood that. And I think for any family business, you have to understand that there can be a captain and then you need first officers and officers on the bridge to assist. You can't have more than one captain, and that's where I think conflict in family businesses happen. They were quite happy to leave me make the decisions, to roll the dices on the cases that I had to roll it, and they done their jobs. And they had massively important roles as well, but we all stayed in our lane. So
almost a clear demarcation of areas of responsibility that complements the overall.
Yeah, and that wasn't evident early on. That it approached as we went on, as the years went on and we got bigger. We could see that we all had clear lines that you were better at this and I'm better at that, and we kept within that. And you know, if there was a massive decision to be made, or something had come up, then we would all sit round, and 9 out of 10 times it's whatever you think, Jack, was the answer I got. So I made the decision, and I can sit here quite happily 36 years doing the role, saying that I've got no regrets in my business or personal life.
Yeah.
Which I think is quite an achievement considering the length of time I've been in it.
So tell me, what drives you? What drives Jaqueline to when you're looking back over those 36 years to date? And I'm guessing there's quite a bit to come as well, possibly. What is it that gets you up every morning?
Passion. Got a massive passion for it. Yeah. I absolutely just love it. I just love that every day brings me a new challenge. I love a challenge, and I love succeeding at that challenge. But yeah, I just love it. I just love every day. Every day is totally different. Every day, you know, one of my staff will bring a challenge to me, and I will give them the options, and they go away and they just go, oh, it's just every day is an education here. And they love the fact that I'm able to give them choices and that they can still make their own mind up. So especially on management level, I'm quite aware that I can't take over all the managers' jobs. So what I give them when they come to, say, a T-junction in their thoughts, I give them the option of, you could do it this way or you could do it that way. And then they go away a lot happier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So would you go as far to say, like, you sometimes hear a sports person say, do you know what, I feel like I've never worked a day in my life because I love being a footballer or a tennis player, whatever. Yeah. Is that kind of the territory you're in?
Yeah. I absolutely live and breathe it. I love it. I absolutely love it. Yeah.
Yeah, which is a wonderful place to be, isn't it?
Yeah.
And particularly with the success you've managed to generate around it as well.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it's an amazing place to be. Keeping in mind that I'm the only female in London that does what I do. So I've had no mentor. I've had nobody that I can phone. I've had nobody that I can bounce off. So it's all happened up here, and in 36 years I've seen off. We had the business, the construction sector's 80s recession, then we had the financial recession, then we had a downturn with Brexit, then we had COVID. So I'm surprised I'm not grey as a badger at this stage, but every one of them have been challenges that thankfully I've rose to and accomplished and achieved.
Overcome. Yeah. Is there a book in there somewhere, do you think, at some point?
Yeah, I'm sure there is, yeah.
We'll talk about that on another episode, maybe. And look, you've been described as an innovator, as a disruptor in your industry. Tell me about that. Give me an example of this characteristic that you've got inside of you, and something that you've brought in, or elements that you've brought into your business operations over the years that would sort of fit that description.
Okay, so in England, the stats show that agriculture is the worst performing safety-wise, and second to that is waste. And it's just something that I wasn't comfortable with. I didn't want to go home worrying that I hadn't done my best. So it's something that I am passionate about, making sure that everybody is safe and we're doing everything as safe as possible. Now there's lots of different components within our industry. So I suppose one of the biggest changes I suppose I could assign to myself and was the direct vision standard came into London and Crossrail. So Crossrail was the Elizabeth line. You probably heard of it over here in Ireland. It went over budget by millions and millions. It was delayed by years. But what was happening was they were bringing an awful lot of construction vehicles, so skip lorries, tipper lorries, mixers, you name it, into London. And London actually isn't built for that type of, it's just not got the infrastructure for that type of sudden income of vehicles. So we were tasked with making the vehicle safer, because we were killing vulnerable road users like cyclists and the like. So I looked at what I believe you call it a garbage truck. We call it a dust cart in England. You call it a garbage truck. So the lorry that collects your wheelie bins. And if you look at the cab, it's got like a bus door on the passenger side. So I looked at it and I thought, I wonder if I put a skip loader on the back of that we would give the driver way better vision out of the vehicle. He's lower, so he can gain eye contact then with the cyclist and pedestrians, and it gives him 30% bigger windscreen and obviously a complete glass door down the passenger side. So I went away and I ordered 2, which was back in 2015, and it was a massive financial commitment. Probably my biggest decision financially in a long time, and they worked. Now every single person in London has got one of these lorries with a high ab on the back, a tipper on the back, a cement mixer on the back. So what I find when they call me the trailblazer, the reason I trailblaze is because I am the first to think of it, and I find with the men of the industry, one does it, then they all follow. So I do it, they all follow. So I think of these things and go for them for the right reasons, and that was the right reason. So we have halved deaths in London from 2018 to 2021. So,
which is fantastic across the industry sector.
Well, across London.
Across London, sorry, in London.
In London. So, so we've got now a direct vision standard, which there's like a star rating. So the vehicles that I'm talking about are 5-star. So you can go from 1 to 5, and in October it goes 3 to 5. They're knocking out 1 and 2, the older vehicles. So. Yeah, that was a massive change that I created within our industry within London. That was like, wouldn't have that only for me.
Yeah.
So a bit of a surreal moment.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, yeah, I mean, I remember reading how the deaths in London were increasing all the time, and left turning lorries and all that kind of thing.
It was actually left turning lorries and female cyclists, and they could never ever collate the two. They could never understand why it was females. And why it was left turning, because we've got an alarm that says this vehicle is turning left. So it sort of shouts at you. But the stats are showing that the deaths are coming down, thankfully.
Fantastic.
So,
well done, congratulations.
Hello, I hope you're enjoying this episode of our West Cork is the Business podcast. There's plenty more to come, but I just wanted to let you know that entries for the West Cork Business and Tourism Awards 2023 are now open. Entering the awards is free and easy and provides your business with a great opportunity to get recognised for all the brilliant work you do in West Cork. We have 8 categories which cater to all types of businesses, big and small, across all sectors. So enter now for the chance to be crowned overall West Cork Business of the Year for 2023. The West Cork Business and Tourism Awards are brought to you by the Southern Star in partnership with Carberry. Visit www.westcorkbusinessandtourismawards.ie today.
And so tell me, I think fairly recently, Sortera, if I'm pronouncing the name correctly there, which is a Swedish company, part of Nordic Capital, one of Europe's leading waste solutions and recycling companies, recently acquired O'Donovan Waste Disposal. So tell me a little bit about the background to that, why you felt the time was right for that acquisition to take place, and how will that benefit the company going into the future?
The time being right, I don't know about the time being right, because it took about 2 years to get across the line. So my older brother was approaching a substantial birthday, and he said, you know what, I've had enough. So it was right, okay. So I went out and I picked Grant Thornton to do the deal for us, and we got hit with COVID. Then we got hit with my older brother and his wife having a serious car accident, which was another 6 months delay. And then we got hit by COVID again. So we finally got there, and we got it over the line. So Terra means salt in Swedish, and they are known for the construction and demolition industry waste disposal company of Europe. So yeah, they wanted to break into England, and they obviously came for the best, the cream of the crop.
And am I right in thinking you're still in situ as managing director?
I am still in situ as managing director. It's quite funny. They came over and never having business schooled or anything like that. I just do things as I know best. But they came over with a 100-day plan, and 100-day plan. What was going to happen on 101 day? It was very peculiar, but all of a sudden this 100-day plan sort of disappeared, and I didn't take any notice, but they've made their second acquisition in London now. So jointly we've got a 60 million turnover in London at the moment, and they said, yeah, we just left the 100-day plan because you were just absolutely busting through the numbers. So they just left me to it. So I've probably seen them for about 6 hours in the last 14 months.
They've probably got the impression that you kind of know what you're doing.
Yeah. Slowly, it's sinking in.
And how do you see? I mean, just think about the future, not just for O'Donovan Waste Disposal, but the industry as a whole. How do you see? Do you see any developments in, for the future of the waste disposal industry in terms of environmental standards and the whole movement to having higher environmental standards and recycling? Is that the way?
It's slow. It's disappointingly slow. So we went last October to sustainably sourced biofuel, which is basically vegetable oil. So we use no fossil fuel in our road going vehicles whatsoever. And I approached the COP26 Sharma for a comment. And he said because we were a commercial entity, he wouldn't give us a comment. We even went to Greta Thunberg, couldn't get a hold of her. We went to Greenpeace, they didn't even get back to us. And when you make such a massive move like that, and that is a massive move, the whole of the COP organisation want no fossil fuel. So for a small, medium-sized company to come out and say, yes, we can do this, we're now showing the rest of the SMEs that you can do this. And this is what I find is sort of my role, that I come out and do it first and then everybody else follows because they think, well, if she can do it, we can do it. So I was very disappointed no one was going to back that massive move because it was 50 pence a litre more than diesel.
Right.
So, but as you can see, I mean, the wildfires in Greece and all sorts, we have got to tackle climate change. It's not going to go away. And the sooner people realise and sit up and smell the coffee, the sooner we will get on. But even to the point where I've mentioned to my management team, we need to put weather on our agenda because the weather is changing so catastrophically. I mean, the floods we're getting and all sorts, and of course that then impacts on the numbers. Then the forecast, the budgets we're doing aren't going to be the same as the ones we did 5-10 years ago.
Yeah. And moving to biofuel, like I say, you weren't playing around the edges. You actually went the 100%. You went the whole hog, and which strikes me as very much the style of your management style. And
it's in for a penny, in for a pound. There's no point doing it in half measures. And look, I'm not going to deny it. We're not the cheapest skip company in London, nor did we ever want to be, but we are the greenest without a shadow of doubt. The green credentials are just phenomenal. But unfortunately, since COVID, where we were seeing prior to COVID that compliance was sort of taking over from price, compliance was becoming king, not price. Now price is back as king, and it's all about the pound note bottom line, which I get. COVID wasn't fun for a lot of companies, but it's just a bit disappointing that we made so much progress and now we've gone back to where we were years ago.
So let's talk a little bit about we've touched on it slightly, in terms of leadership. I think you've given us a few points already to your style as a leader. How would you describe your management style?
I think it's quite inclusive. I think communication's key. And I think the fact that I'm very rare in the fact that I've done every single job in my business. So I've done and understand the frustrations of credit control when they're ringing looking for money. I understand the frustrations of the purchase department when they're trying to get a copy invoice. So I think my biggest strength is that I know my accounts. I know every job within that organisation, and I know every part about that job. So then that leaves me the ability to be able to communicate better with the person that's in that role, and they feel part of the family, not the team, the family, because I can give the sympathy when I need it, or I can give direction when I need it.
And presumably, as you said earlier, give them informed choices.
Yeah, informed choices. I think it's really important that I don't tell them what to do all the time. That I give them options, because I think people need to be able to decide themselves which way to go.
So, would you say that's a good bit of advice for a chief exec or an MD in any company, that whether or not they go and actually work in every department, that's always not possible or practical, but they should get under the skin of how their business operates. They got to know the nuts and bolts of their business.
I think so, yeah. I think, how can you expect, you can't dictate to your staff, I think, unless you just want people that are going to go yes people all the time. And to me, I don't want people to say yes. I want people to come up to me with challenges. I love a challenge. And if they've got a challenge, well, right, okay, well, let's see how we can tackle this challenge. I really don't believe in stress, and I think that's probably a big part of my leadership role, is that I don't get stressed. I think stress is a seed you sow yourself, and you allow that seed to grow as big as you choose to let it grow. Anxiety, totally different. I get it's a chemical reaction within the body, and that a lot of people suffer from it, and why they suffer from it. And COVID was very evident about how different people suffered from it. But stress, I think, is something that you sow. So yeah, I don't raise my voice. I encourage that if there's been a little bit of a cock up, that you come in. Let's talk about, right, what's gone wrong. How do we make it right? Is paramount for me. So yeah, communication is a real big thing for me.
And presumably that cascades down through your management team and staff, that if the leader isn't exhibiting too much stress or any stress, then hopefully that's...
Oh yeah. When I go, I've never had a 2-week holiday in my whole life. But if I go away, so I might take, if it's a bank holiday, get 10 days in. But when I'm away, it's like, the only way I can describe it is like a boat in choppy waters, and then when I arrive back, it's like the anchor's back down. It's really bizarre, and everybody goes, thank God you're back. But nothing's happened, but they just get that sense of calmness.
Security, perhaps.
And security,
yeah. And when you're on these 10 days holidays, do you have a holiday, or are you, what kind of holiday person are you?
Well, my happy place is Goleen. But no, I will do my emails in the morning. Phone's always on. When you're in a position like mine, and you've got as many staff as me, you can't go, oh, you're not allowed to ring me. They tend to leave me alone. They know that I work extremely hard, so they try and give me that break. But yeah, the head just keeps going, the ideas keep flowing, and they probably dread when I come back off holiday, to be honest, because I've thought of another 10 new ideas.
Here we go.
Yeah, oh my God, she's back. God help us. It's all buckling.
Enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
Jaqueline, any advice for women who may be starting out, or maybe starting out, are currently involved in, as you did right at the outset, what you described as a male-dominated industry? Any particular advice from your 36 years of...
Yeah, I think women need to, especially the ones in male-dominated industries, and I mentor a handful of women, and I'm only glad to. I really think it's important that people that have gone as far as I have in industry, that they don't wheel the ladder up behind them, that they bend down and pull the next woman up with them. So I'm a real advocate for mentoring and assisting women. It's a male-dominated industry because women, generations back, decades back, chose to stay at home and be mothers. So the only thing that's going to change male domination is time. So as we move on in time, women are going to want to get into different industries, and then that word male domination probably won't even exist. Maybe not in my lifetime, but definitely in my child's lifetime. So I would, my advice to them is ignore how many men versus how many women, and to own their skills. I don't know how many women I meet that are shook by how many men are in the room who sit there confidently. So it's like the CEO question I was asked once. So somebody asked me, do you think there's a difference between a male CEO and a female CEO? And I said, yes, I do. I said, I think the male CEO gets the role, puts the suit on, and comes in and like as if he owns the place. The female CEO gets her suit on, she feels she has to work extra hours to prove that she can do her role. So that's the difference. Women need to own their skill set and not be apologetic about it. And I think they doubt. And I think it's probably just a male-female thing. But yeah, they shouldn't doubt. Now, people was, I mean, I was sitting at an event once and it was about glass ceilings. And they went around the whole room. There's 20 women. And of course, I was the last one. Had to be the last one. And they were all going on about, oh, you know, pushing through the glass ceiling and it was so tough. And I went, what ceiling? The sky's the limit. And that's, as far as I'm concerned, that is the case. There is no ceiling there. Sky is the limit. Take it as far as you want it. Just get on with it.
Get on with it and go for it.
Yeah, go for it,
Yeah. And do you think the environment is improving? Have you seen an improvement in business in general, not just in your industry necessarily? Do you see that there are more women in senior management positions than there were maybe 30 years ago?
Yes, definitely. But I also see an awful lot of women that make it to CEO and then pull the ladder back up, which really irritates me. Because if younger women can't see us, they can't be us. Mm-hmm. So I think it's really important that women show other women how they dealt with different challenges and different events and, you know, different scenarios. But yeah, there definitely is a change. And I've got to be honest, and people probably disagree with me, but I actually think there's a better proportion of female male in Ireland than there is in England. I think it's more weighted towards the men, male domination in Ireland, in England, more than it is in Ireland.
You could well be right there. There are a lot of senior women in CEO positions and senior management positions in blue chip organisations, and there's a lot of very successful family oriented businesses as well where women run the show. So you could well be right there.
I think the Cork Chamber had me talking there recently, and I was really pleasantly surprised with it was nearly a 50-50 split in the room. Mm-hmm. And if that was London now, it would be probably, I'd be lucky if it was a quarter women.
Right.
I would predominantly be talking to men unless it was a female event where it would be all females.
Yeah. And any particular advice for men or women, young men or women who might just be starting out on whatever their chosen career path is? What little pearl of wisdom would you give somebody who has the aspiration to be successful?
Listen to what people around them are saying, and then never ever doubt your gut. That's what I would say. So many people when I was younger, and I'd listen and I'd doubt myself, and then I'd go, shouldn't have doubted myself. So yeah, having done 36 years, I would never have doubted myself as much. So yeah, don't doubt yourself. Go with your gut.
If you believe you can do it, you probably can.
Yeah.
So talking about something that was very exciting, I'm assuming it was very exciting quite recently, and look, the heartiest congratulations. You were awarded an OBE, Order of the British Empire, in King Charles's 2023 birthday honours for services to recycling, safety and industry. Was this a surprise? Did you have an inkling that this was coming, or did it just come out as a bolt out of the blue? It was a bolt out of the blue, yeah. So somebody obviously put me up. I've heard since it was done probably 8 years ago. So yeah, to get first of all, the letter came from a strange place. It wasn't, Buckingham Palace or anything like that. So I was looking and thinking, what's that? And then it was on it that he had honoured me with an OBE, and it was like, whoa. So I haven't collected yet. Oh, you haven't collected yet? Right. No, so I've got to wait for the phone call. I get to choose Windsor or Buckingham Palace. Do you have a leaning? Buckingham, I think. Has to be Buckingham, seeing as I'm a London based. And then I think Princess Anne is a tremendous role model for females.
So I wouldn't mind Anne or Charles. I think William's probably a bit young for me, so in more ways than one. So yeah, I think I'd like Anne or Charles. Obviously, Charles being the top choice because he's king.
And I presume you'll know in advance, will you?
No.
Right.
You get to choose. You get to pick it. You get a couple of dates. You get to choose your location, but you will not know till you get there on the day. So yeah. Exciting. So I'm going to be wearing Irish. As Philip Tracy will be doing my hat, and I'm hoping to get an Irish dress made. Fantastic. I've got a couple of Irish designers in London that I'm gonna.
Brilliant. Yeah. Well, listen, congratulations, and I hope you'll allow us to put a photograph. If there is a photograph in the Southern Star,
I'm sure there'll be plenty of photographs.
I'm sure there'll be a few. Look, I think it's absolutely wonderful. Yeah. So yeah, we really do congratulate you on it, and well deserved. And look, these things don't come without a lot of hard work.
I don't think it's hit me yet, to be honest. Yeah. I think probably when I have to go to the palace, it will be. No, it hasn't really hit me.
I'm presuming a little bit of a drink or two afterwards, possibly.
Oh yes, no, we will celebrate. No, I'm not going to lie, I love a party.
And look, you were recently also honoured at the inaugural Business Post Global Irish Diaspora Awards in London. These awards, they celebrate the achievements of the Irish diaspora worldwide, and you were awarded the Business Leader of the Year title at the event, which was again quite an honour. Must have been a lovely award to receive.
Yeah, massive honour. I really didn't expect it. I wasn't there to collect the award. I actually took a whole table of females. So because it's such a male-dominated industry, I like to take a whole table of guests of females. And when my name was read out, it was a real shock. And what an honour! It was fantastic.
Just being part of that diaspora yourself, and then being recognised.
To be recognised.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah. And look, it comes through in spades. Just meeting you today, you're so proud of your Irishness and your Irish heritage, your Irish roots. I know you're a big supporter of the Irish community in London and the United Kingdom as a whole. You're involved in a number of projects, including the St. Patrick's Day Parade and Ball. Most recently, the launch of an Irish archive at the London Irish Centre, which I believe is, I think this is your words actually, to preserve the history of the stories, letters, tapes and recordings of Irish emigrants that travelled to the UK. And as we know, there were tens, if not hundreds of thousands, including my own grandma was one of those as well. And a lot of them, again, as you put, were known as the men who built Britain. And I think that's something you want to shine more of a spotlight on, isn't it?
Yeah, I really do. You know, look, I'm not going to lie. If I had a magic wand, I'd give myself an Irish accent. I really do think that no matter where you are in the world, the minute you hear an Irish accent, you go, oh, you're from Ireland, where are you from? And I do that, and they look at me because I've got an English accent. And then I feel that I can't say that I'm Irish because I've got an English accent. So I have to say, my parents were from, or are from, West Cork. So I just think it's just something unique the Irish have throughout the whole world, that no matter where you are, your voice is so identifiable and people automatically want to ask you where you're from. Coming from parents that, came over when it was quite tough here in Ireland, think it's really important. I remember, when we used to have to pile in the car, Dad used to shove me in the footwell and put a blanket over me because, it was extra money to pay for the children. So I used to go unnoticed in the footwell until we got on the boat, and then I'd come out from underneath the blanket. So that was quite funny to think of where we are today. And I don't want my son or my nieces and nephews to forget what my mum and dad went through to give us a better life. And I think that because there's so many Irish in Britain with children with the same accent as me, we've got a massive issue of that could be forgotten. And I don't want it to be the forgotten Irish, because England wouldn't be England without the Irish. They did build the roads, they did build the houses, Ireland built Britain, and they're still doing it. When you look at the massive size of some of the companies throughout the whole length and breadth of England, and the little tiny villages that they came from and the humble beginnings that they came from. I am just so proud of the island of Ireland for the size of it, the how small the the population was, and globally, look at what they've done. It's just, and yeah, I'm really conscious that the more that speak like me, the more we're going to forget it. So we're looking, so we've got the archives, they're in the Metropolitan Museum, kept under temperatured conditions, and we're looking, they stopped in the early 70s, so we're looking at bringing it from the 70s up to the 90s to see if we can fill in the gaps. And I really do hope that if I do that, that someone else, maybe my son, maybe my nieces or nephews, might then take it on to the next stage and keep that history rolling, because I think it's so important.
And is this for the UK as a whole, or London to start with, or
no, the whole UK?
The whole UK?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So we're just prepping at the moment to how we're going to capture the stories, because I suppose what brought it home to me was I've got a bachelor uncle in Premier League in the home, and he's the last person of that era in his homeland in Goleen, and it's like, so now all the stories are gone. So I don't want to lose any more stories that we might possibly have, and I think it's really important that is kept in history.
I would agree. I think it's a fantastic initiative. I mean, obviously, I told you earlier, I'm from Sheffield. I can vouch for it. My grandparents, same thing. I mean, and the Irish community in Sheffield, huge Irish community over the generations that built half of Sheffield. Same as Manchester, same as Liverpool.
Yep.
And and obviously that generation have passed away, and it is their descendants now, but it's it's thinning out a bit. So I think it's really important to capture those, as you say, those stories and memories.
And the memories and the stories are just so hilarious.
Absolutely.
You mean life, I think, has got very regulatory. Everything's got regulations. You can't ask the age. You can't ask this. You got to do this. You got to do that. So to actually sit down and just let them tell you the stories about the skullduggery that they were up to and how they had to do it because they couldn't afford to do it the right way. And it's just, my older brother's only 8 years older than me, but the stories he could tell are just hilarious. And then you get the gang of people start getting bigger and bigger because they want to hear about the history. So I think it's really important. I'm really looking forward to the project.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, good luck with that. And again, it's something we'd love to keep tabs on at the Southern Star, because if anything we can do to help there from this side of the water, let us know. So I'm gonna sort of bring us all the way back round now to what you described as your happy place earlier, which is Goleen and West Cork. So just tell us what it is you love. So obviously I know your mum and dad hail from here, but outside of that, what else do you love about this part of the world?
Oh, I don't know. It just has this magical effect on me. I just feel like it's, and I just feel just so relaxed. I get such clarity. I can just sit watching the Fastnet and the weather go past for hours and hours. But I can't do that anywhere else. It just gives me that ability to breathe and to let my brain breathe and to just live, I suppose, a little slower pace, a little bit more of a normal slower pace as opposed to having my business head on and.
And what's your favourite West Cork thing to do, or your perfect West Cork day?
Sit looking out the window and watch the weather go by.
That's it.
Yeah.
Nice and simple.
Yeah, nice and simple. Keep it simple.
It sounds like the antidote to your other busy, not stressful, because you don't get stressed.
No, I don't get stressed. Everything's a challenge.
Yeah.
No such thing as stress. Yeah, it's all challenge. Yeah, no, I love it. Yeah, it's very go in London. I would be out 4, if not 5 nights a week at business events, the Irish Embassy, hold events or other events, and then it's a full day in the office, so it is go. So when I get here, it's just take it nice and easy, and the food is just so much better, and everything tastes so differently, and
I've really enjoyed our conversation today. Thank you so much. I found it very insightful. I actually think there's things I'm going to take from this conversation and bring back into my life as a manager. Yeah. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank
you. I think, are quite an inspiring and driven person, but also great fun to have a conversation with as well. So
gotta have fun.
Life's
for living. That's my motto.
I want to thank you especially. I know you've come over to visit a family member as well, but you've taken time out especially to come over and visit us here at the Southern Star today, which is absolutely brilliant. So you're welcome anytime.
Thank you.
So Jaqueline O'Donovan, Managing Director of O'Donovan Waste Disposal. Thank you very much for your time today, and thank you for being on the West Cork is the Business podcast.
Lovely. Well, thank you. I'm absolutely honoured to be invited.
Thanks for listening to the West Cork is the Business podcast. We'll be back again next week with another episode, this time featuring owner and managing director of Roa Pharmaceuticals, Brigitte Wagner-Halswick. If you've enjoyed this episode, please rate, review and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget, the West Cork Business and Tourism Awards are now open for 2023. The awards are brought to you by the Southern Star in partnership with Carberry, so visit westcorkbusinessandtourismawards.ie to enter your business today. Thanks for listening.